Hi, everyone. I'm Ryan Fowler. If you're a founder or business leader, you probably have a few behaviors you've tried to change and haven't been able to. Maybe you avoid a hard conversation that needs to happen. Maybe you keep underpricing your work. Maybe you can't quite let go of a task you should have delegated a year ago. Maybe you procrastinate on the highest stakes things on your calendar. Maybe you over prepare for every meeting until you've burned hours you didn't have. These behaviors get blamed on a lot of things: discipline, fear, bad habits, bandwidth, not enough accountability. So the usual response is to add more discipline, structure, accountability, mindset work. And it can sort of work for a while until it doesn't. And to be fair, occasionally there's a good reason for some of these behaviors, such as procrastinating lower priority tasks because higher priority issues keep materializing, or not delegating what your team is not prepared to handle. But when behaviors are not a match for the best course of action, there's usually a common reason for this that isn't obvious. These behaviors are often ways to avoid triggering the feeling that if you make a mistake or things go sideways, it means you're not good enough. If your sense of being valuable and acceptable depends on external things, on success, on validation from others, on performing well, then high stakes moments are also a verdict on who you are. A bad quarter isn't just a bad quarter, it's evidence about your worth. A hard conversation is also a risk that someone sees you as a bad person, and maybe that means you are bad. A delegation isn't just a delegation, it's handing your identity to someone who might not handle it the way you would. So, looking through this lens, self sabotage and other identity protection behaviors make sense. Your brain's trying to avoid the worst type of emotional pain, the pain of feeling you're not good enough, which your brain believes would be confirmed as true if you don't succeed or receive validation or otherwise perform at a certain level. We call this toxic shame, among other things, and it's one of the most, if not the most, painful emotion we have. If your brain believes your worth depends on your performance or standing with others, it sets up a network of defensive behaviors to keep you from triggering how you'd feel if you make some sort of mistake that proves to you that you're not good enough. The fix is not to simply tell yourself you're good enough. It's not affirmations. It's not repeating to yourself that your worth doesn't depend on your performance. You've probably tried something like that. It works only a little and often doesn't work at all. That's because there's an older belief running underneath, installed in your childhood, that says the opposite. As long as that deeper belief is still there, every counter belief you try to lay on top of it has to fight it. The deeper belief wins, especially under pressure. So if you've ever said affirmations that rang hollow when you said them, that's why. These deep subconscious beliefs run on autopilot. They're the source of our emotions. They get triggered when something in the outside world happens that's a pattern match. So as we go through life and things happen, we don't choose how we feel about it. Our emotions just come up automatically. That can be both good and bad news. The bad news is mere cognitive thoughts don't rewire these deep schemas because they're stored in a different part of the brain that works differently. The good news is neuroscience has identified a brain change mechanism called memory reconsolidation that can actually update these deep beliefs at the source. When a deep belief gets activated and a contradicting experience is introduced at the right moment, the belief becomes temporarily editable. During that window, the belief can be updated. The old schema is rewritten at the source. Conventional methods are not designed to cause memory reconsolidation, but it's the core engine of what I do. A bit later, you can see the results for yourself when we examine a few case study highlights, video interviews of some of my clients. Once these deep beliefs are updated, the new beliefs run automatically the same way the old ones ran automatically. They get triggered just as automatically, except now in a way that serves you. When negative core beliefs are gone, the behaviors built to protect you from triggering them are no longer needed, and your brain stops using them. So, imposter syndrome doesn't need to be managed. There's no imposter to expose. High stakes procrastination often drops dramatically because the work is no longer a referendum on your worth. Conflict avoidance drops because the conversation's no longer a threat to who you are. It's just a conversation. Your internal critic quiets because he's no longer needed to point out all the little things that could go wrong and what it means about you if you make a mistake or don't work harder. Perfectionism eases because you no longer need everything to be perfect to defend your identity. Delegation gets easier because someone else doing the work imperfectly is no longer a reflection on you. The protection isn't needed anymore. The behaviors that kept you stuck and performing below your potential were downstream of the same root issue. Resolve the root, and most of them resolve on their own. I know some of you watching this are coaches, facilitators, or advisors of founders, executives, and other business leaders. And you're probably recognizing pieces of this in your own life. That's normal. Most people struggle with these things to some degree. The work is the same regardless of which side of the table you're on. I'm not saying any of this from above the conversation. I'm saying it from inside it. So if something landed for you personally over the last few minutes, that's not a problem. That's data, and it's a signal about something you can resolve. So let's look at a few short clips from people who I've helped to resolve these negative beliefs and their downstream negative behaviors. It's instructive to see how this manifests afterwards in someone's life when we've made these changes, because you probably have never seen this type of rapid change before. After these clips, I'll show you a tool I use with clients, a list of descriptive words that map onto beliefs we've been talking about. You can use it on yourself. In fact, I hope you do. It will help you get clarity on the root cause of behaviors you have that may impede your own progress. So here are the clips.
Prior to the session, there was more chatter in my brain. After the session, it was just more calm and clarity. I didn't have the buzz, the typical buzzing that people have in the voice. I don't have any voice in my head anymore. I think that's a gift that you give people, and that's a gift you gave me. So it's even hard to think about how best to answer the question, because when you don't have that mental chatter, it really is a relief. And then the second one for me was about being more successful and working less. I've been the type of guy, if you recall in the session, that I think I deserve money and I deserve success only if I work my ass off.
Only if you work very hard, what you do.
Right. But since that session, I have not really worked that hard and I've made more money. So
I would definitely say that there was self-deprecation, there was procrastination, you name it. It was there in some way, shape, or form.
Scale of 0 to 10, how large were they?
Definitely more severe. I'd probably say anywhere between an 8 and a 9.
So you're self-sabotaging too.
Absolutely, absolutely. But all that went away, all that dissipated, and here we are. 3, 4 years later, and I'm still receiving benefits from that session.
What changed, if anything, and how did it change?
So almost immediately, I would probably say within the first 2 days, I started to reassess how I ran the day-to-day operations, how things that I would put off, that I would delay. There was no longer something that was going to stop me from being productive. I viewed things totally different, and it made our offices so much more productive. I was able to make those changes personnel wise, just based off of that one session. So we had about a 42% increase in overall productivity. It also led to the overall net profitability of the offices as well. So the overall net profitability was off the charts. Oh, bookings, of patients. The actual no-show rate dropped significantly.
It sounds like the shift we got in your subconscious is basically the catalyst for all these other downstream effects. Is that accurate to say?
Very accurate.
Mark was asking me, well, how did the session go? He wanted all the details.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, honestly, babe, I'm like, I can't really tell you my story anymore because it's not there. It's weird. I was like in my head trying to grab it. I was like, where is it? And it's not there. It's like empty. Like, but like, so yeah, I couldn't find it. And I also was like, I don't care. I don't want to find it. Like, I don't want to repeat it, It's kind of like, I'm glad it's gone. I just felt lighter, and there's like that internal resistance, that back and forth, just kind of stopped. And it's so interesting because before it was such a big deal. It was
Mm-hmm.
such a big deal to like just choose to do the show. And afterwards, I was like, I'm just choosing to do the show. Like nothing's a big deal anymore. It's like if it doesn't work, then whatever, I'll do something else. But before, and that was one thing we uncovered is that my, identity and what I did was like entangled so much. And so if my business didn't succeed or something would happen, I would take it super personally.
Your
And that,
sense of value was tied to outward success.
yes,
And that
exactly.
causes huge problems.
After the first week, before we met to follow up and see how things were going, by the second week, I already had 2 interviews scheduled for the show. I have like 5 episodes that I'm filming. Like I already put together the inspiration board. Like I just got to work on it. And I have been like so excited. I've been so geeked out and it feels so good to like just do what I want to do. What
Now,
I've done in the last couple of like in the last month would have
Mhm.
took me, I don't know, like 6 months maybe to do. A lot of it was me just sitting on it, milling on it, being like trying to make the decision without even doing the action. So
Yeah,
I'm like overthinking it, I'm over
avoidant behavior.
strategizing, and then I would not take any actions. And so now I just take the fucking action.
So this is where we start figuring out what is at the root cause of avoidant behavior, defensive behavior, and how our subconscious mind works is it is a pattern recognition machine and it is a prediction machine. So we have these early learnings or beliefs we develop that get tied to emotions. And as we're developing as children and adolescents, these get lodged down in our subconscious mind. What we do as adults is as we go through the world, anything that is a pattern match for the belief, when we encounter it in the outside world, it will trigger what is in us. It will trigger the emotion tied to the belief. So if you believe you're falling short, and if you then fall short, you're going to feel a bad feeling. If you feel inadequate and then you do something or something happens to confirm that, you're going to feel a bad feeling getting triggered, a match for that. And so what we do is we rewire these beliefs to become the person who doesn't have a belief he's inadequate in them, and then it doesn't get triggered. And what causes the avoidant behavior is when our brain predicts we're in a situation where we are at threat or risk of these things being triggered. Then the defensive behaviors kick in to avoid this because these feelings tied to these beliefs are very painful and we avoid pain. We go through the list. There's actually 5 categories. You go through here, you highlight the words that are a match for you intuitively, what feels like something at least some of the time you have struggled with or is a match for you. You can write the words down. I've highlighted them here, write them down, and then put because next to each one. I feel like an imposter because, I feel inadequate because, write it down. You're going to start to see what is in you that we get out of you. And when we get these beliefs out of you, the behaviors that keep you from fulfilling your potential and to a great degree melt away when you no longer need to avoid triggering what is in you. So if something landed for you over the last few minutes, a behavior you recognized, a pattern in someone you work with, a sense that there's a layer underneath where the change actually happens, feel free to reach out to me. These issues often resolve far faster than most people expect, and the first conversation costs nothing. Either way, thanks for watching.